The territory of China includes more than 11,000 islands. While 95% of these are substantial land masses on China's continental shelf, the remainder are newer formations created by volcanic activity, the buildup of sediment brought by rivers, and coral islands. Cut off from the mainland, home to rare and unique species, these islands are independent and fragile ecosystems. Deep below the surface of the sea lies a hidden world, one created by the ceaseless struggle between ocean and land, the world of the hydrothermal vents. Here, between the fragile cracks that separate the tectonic plates that have shaped the world's continents, molten lava is constantly spurting to the surface. But this fantastic undersea world is a hostile environment. Shaped by hydrothermal plumes full of toxic sulfides, it's hard to see how anything can survive here. Yet somehow living organisms do make a home in this living hell. In crevices just meters away from hydrothermal vents, spouting superheated water, tiny grapsoid crabs have made a home. How do they thrive in this challenging environment? Ocean currents are one reason, lowering the temperature of the water to a comfortable 22 degrees. What's more, toxins rising from the vents kill organisms unaccustomed to this harsh world. The result is a ceaseless snowfall of dead organisms, a free feast for these denizens of the hydrothermal deep. Just goes to show, even cruel nature sometimes gives someone a free lunch. This is Guishan Island to the east of Taiwan. It's a reminder of the ever-changing relationship between land and sea. It formed 7,000 years ago. A volcano emerged from the depths of the sea. 18,000 years ago, this part of the sea was in fact dry land. Shuadao Island wasn't an island then. Back then, it was a mountain. But time changes everything. Eventually, the sea covered everything, all except the peak of that mountain, Shuadao Island. The size of 140 soccer fields. On Shuadao Island, one species is king. The pit viper. In its age-long separation from the mainland, the island has developed a distinct ecosystem. A female snake is about to give birth. The most important thing now is to find a safe place to give birth. That's because the pit vipers have a rival for rulership of this island, the brown rat. The ancestors of these rodents were brought here long ago on ships. Luckily, the snakes have a secret weapon in their armory, a facial pit that enables them to detect minuscule changes in temperature. Forewarned of the furry threat to her newborn babies, a female viper goes into action. Quickly, the hunter becomes the hunted. In a few minutes, the brown rat will be dead. Alert lifted. Now the expectant mother can give birth in relative safety. But this snake is lucky. Food is scarce on the island, so the reproduction rate is very low. Annually, 1 in 4 of the female snakes gives birth. These pit vipers are ovoviviparous, which means they hatch their eggs inside their bodies, directly giving birth to their baby snakes. Mating takes place from July to September, with females giving birth the following year. Only after hibernation do the fertilized eggs inside the bodies of the females have enough energy to develop. Even then, the infant snakes still have to wait until September or October before they see the light of day. When the miracle moment does come around, however, these female vipers will give birth to as many as 8 snakes at a time. Thanks to ovoviviparity, the fertility rate of these vipers is greatly enhanced. "20 minutes later, another little snake is on its way. The baby snake needs to break free from the afterbirth. Four hours later, this female has welcomed a brood of 5 snakes to the world. Almost as soon as they're born, they slither away. The mother who went to such pains to bring them into the world isn't destined to raise them. Weak and fragile after the trauma of giving birth, food is now what she most needs. But for now, all she can do is wait. Life isn't easy on an isolated island where food is scarce. Over time, the rigors of existence here have driven most other species to extinction. It's thanks to their exceptional resilience that these cold-blooded animals have managed to cling on here. Though islands like these offer limited prospects to permanent residents, they have their uses for seasonal visitors. Shuadao Island is a handy pit stop for migratory birds making their way south. For 2 months of the year, hundreds of thousands of them make the island their temporary home. Good news for the hungry snakes. So, between September and November, it's hunting season for the island's 20,000 vipers. Having not eaten for almost half a year, they make a scramble for the place to take advantage of this seasonal flying feast, the treetops. Experience as well as instinct has honed the athletic skills they need to hunt their winged prey. If this is war for survival, you might think the airborne birds have the advantage. But thanks to their heat senses, the vipers are able to launch precision ground-to-air assaults. They only have to get lucky once. A single bird can meet the energy needs of a pit viper for a whole year. The tussle between island and ocean is never ending. The organisms that depend on them constantly adapting and evolving. To the south of the Pearl River estuary, there's a scattering of islands. These are in fact the peaks of a mountain range that extends into the ocean. White-bellied sea eagles build their nests in high trees on the cliffs. The nests have a diameter of 2 meters. This nestling is about 40 days old. A white-bellied sea eagle is patrolling the territory. With good reason, the nestling needs a constant supply of food. A whole fish seems more than a mouthful for a young nestling, but instead of lending the youngster a helping hand or beak, they leave the chick to get on the best it can. The father, meanwhile, is on the alert. A hungry black kite has strayed into their territory. With around 1.5 million optic cells, these eagles have telescopic vision. Whether crawling on the ground or swimming in the sea, no prey is invisible to the white-bellied sea eagle circling high above. Kings of the sky, these birds of prey brook no rivals in their domain. But the nestling has no idea that a crisis has just been averted, thanks to the vigilant parents who guard it night and day. "18,000 years ago, Hainan Island was part of the mainland. But then the sea level rose, separating the island and the creatures living on it from the continent. The mangrove forest in the northeastern part of the island is one of the northernmost habitats of a variety of saltwater-tolerant frogs. Whereas most frogs will quickly perish if exposed to salt water, nature has equipped these with a distinctive osmotic pressure system that helps them cope with saline conditions. Low tide at night is the best time for these frogs to feed. Like most frogs, these are alert to the presence of moving objects, but stay still and the frogs are flummoxed. The larvae of a species of sesarmid crab is the food of choice for these frogs, hence their name, crab-eating frogs. Poor vision is the biggest disadvantage these frogs have. But even if they manage to spot their prey, their success rate is low. The crab is targeted. But all it has to do to escape is to bide its time. A fruitless night? And with the tide on the rise, it looks as if the frog will have to wait until nightfall comes around again before it gets a chance of another meal. The ecosystem of Hainan Island is inextricably linked to that of the mainland. 18 degrees north latitude, Lingshui Peninsula. When you've lived somewhere for as long as these monkeys have, you're bound to acquire a little bit of local knowledge to make life easier. For their land-loving relatives, these treacherous reefs would offer nothing but danger. But these clever creatures, known locally as sea island macaques, have discovered that for the intrepid, there's a buffet of tasty treats to be found on the wave-buffeted rocks. For them, the key to survival is not being too fussy about what they eat. Besides seafood, they also forage for food in the woods. Sea island macaques live in matriarchal groups. The largest troop on the island has over 200 members. It's July. The baby monkeys, born a week earlier, are having fun. Little do they know, they've been born into a world full of danger. What's more, danger lurks in surprising quarters. They and their mothers have to be especially on their guard against the adolescent female macaques. Curious about the newborn baby macaques, they like to snatch the babies so they can find out for themselves what being a mother is all about. Finally, an opportunity comes. The baby monkey is snatched by an adolescent female. As she's had no babies of her own, she doesn't know the right way to hold it. So whether she's trying to protect or harm the baby is hard to say. But whether these baby snatchers mean to do harm or not, the fact is that 2% of fatalities among newborns can be attributed to their behavior. In the end, the baby finds itself abandoned on a branch 10 meters up. It hasn't eaten for 6 hours now. Its only hope is to find its mother before night falls. But the mother remains exactly where she is. She doesn't dare leave. She has no idea what has happened to her baby. In an hour, the troop will return to the depths of the woods. For the baby, the situation is desperate. It will have to do its best to find its mother on its own. Some 200 million years ago, tectonic movement created China's largest island, Taiwan. For species left on islands, with less space and fewer resources, the challenges of survival intensify. It's October, in the Chijiawan River, in Sheba Park, at an altitude of about 1,500 meters, in the heartland of Taiwan Island, the Taiwanese salmon begin their breeding migration. This male is about 2 years old. Its noticeable red spots and upturned lower jaw indicate that it's now sexually mature. Like other types of salmon, they migrate to breed. However, unlike their relatives, these salmon spend all their lives in freshwater. That's because 100,000 years ago, the east coast of Taiwan changed. Back then, the ancestors of these salmon, just like other types, spent most of their lives at sea, only venturing upriver to lay their eggs. But then the tectonic plates moved. Suddenly, the land became steeper, preventing the salmon from returning home. Males dance to attract the female. In the end, one of them is chosen. The pebbles on the riverbed are the ideal delivery room for the salmon. With a swish of its tail, female clears away the sand and algae in the gaps between the stones. The male, meanwhile, stands guard. The female lays over 100 tiny demersal eggs each time. Each egg is so small that it naturally settles snugly in the gaps between the stones. With another swish of her tail, the mother gives them a safety blanket of gravel. "90 days later, the tiny fish emerge from their eggs. They will swim downstream and return here to breed when they're mature. For them, the journey of life has just begun. Many islands are in fact the peaks of underwater mountains. Often towering thousands of meters above the ocean floor, these underwater mountain ranges alter the nutrient-rich ocean currents, create challenges and opportunities for the creatures who depend on them. This place is the domain of the lionfish. a shoal of fish arrives to feed. These are silversides, a favorite prey of the lionfish. The hunt is on. But unlike their land-based namesakes, these gloriously but cumbersomely manned lions of the sea are at a massive disadvantage. They are slow. In the battle for survival, speed is of the essence. But what the lionfish lack in actual speed, they make up for in quick wits. Evolution has equipped them with some brilliant hunting strategies. On this underwater sporting field, it's the team that is the star. Slowly but surely, working together, the lionfish move towards the shoal from different directions. The swift silversides can easily evade an approaching lumbering lionfish, but that's just what the lionfish have reckoned upon. The silversides are soon surrounded, coming together in a tight ball. As the lionfish close in, silversides make a break for it. But whichever way they go, they find their way blocked. In many cases, the only way forward is straight into a gaping, hungry mouth. For the lionfish, it's an undersea turkey shoot and a feast. Natural selection is a matter of survival of the fittest. But it's not just fit bodies that count. Nature also chooses those equipped with good ideas. Shantou, Guangdong Wuyi Island, an uninhabited island, is as big as 5 soccer fields. Every spring, almost 10,000 bridled terns follow shoals of fish to this island. For the whole summer, until the end of the breeding season, the adult birds forage in turn. By late September, it'll be time for the bridled terns to migrate to warmer climes. Before that can happen, all the young birds need to be able to fly. But one nestling has yet to leave its nest. Time is running out. Its parents must do something. The young bridled tern has been hiding in the bushes, away from the sun and predators. So far, it has enjoyed a comfortable summer, unwilling to take a step out of the nest But now, all that is about to change. The most important thing is to encourage the nestling to leave the nest. To do that, the parents stop bringing food into the nest. Instead, they try to lure it out by regurgitating food just outside the nest. Hopefully, hunger will eventually enable the youngster to overcome its fear of the outside world. The idea is to lure the fledgling to the cliffs, where it can begin to learn to fly. But so far, it isn't working. The nestling refuses to budge. But the parent is determined. It swallows the fish. The strategy works. The nestling is rewarded as it progresses. The parent leaves again. It's not the end of training yet. Thankfully, though, the key step has been taken. If everything goes well, the nestling will leave with the rest of the flock at the end of the season. Surrounded by water, cut off from the outside world, islands of all shapes and sizes offer a safe haven. For creatures on the move from one place to another, they're especially useful. In late March, a group of spotted seals begin their migration. The pups born last year will leave along with the rest of the colony. This area of the sea is dotted with reefs. Though the waves here never cease, the rich pickings on offer make a stopover worthwhile. The advance party are having a rest while the main body catches up. To get a good rest, you need to get a good position. Location is everything. So it's not long before the seals are wasting valuable energy squabbling for prime spots on the overcrowded reefs. The losers will just have to find somewhere else. This little seal has decided that competition is far too intense on this reef. He's off to find another one. If he's going to get a good rest, he better find one before nightfall. The reef, covered with algae, is slippery. After several attempts of trying to get on, he fails. A sandbar looks more promising. Spacious, occupied by just a few seagulls. This could be the place. Frightened, seagulls fly towards a distant fishing boat. The seal takes fright too. As dusk draws near, the little seal tries for a vacant reef. Small and wet, it's not an ideal reef to rest up on. But this little fellow is in no position to be choosy, so he decides to give it a try. After a day spent traveling and fighting, he's now exhausted. It's hard to stretch its body on the narrow reef, but at least he has a place to sleep tonight. With the limited resources offered by nature, every inch of space on islands is precious. It's June. The little white-bellied sea eagle has grown quickly. Now its breast is even turning white. But it's not quite ready to fly the nest. Its parents still send it food every day. Eating up a whole fish won't take very long. What a paradise for this little eagle. However, it's time to start getting ready to leave the nest. Parents must get the nestling to fly away by the end of the season. Right now, there's not much wind, so it's a good time for flying lessons. Encoded in their DNA, flying comes naturally to white-bellied sea eagles. The young eagle comes to the edge of the nest to make a courageous attempt. Whether they're giving breeding animals and their vulnerable youngsters a safe haven, or offering migrants the chance to rest and refuel on secluded and uninhabited sea islands, unseen by human eyes, life in all its variety is constantly being renewed and invigorated.